The stadium is a deafening roar of 80,000 screaming fans, but all you hear is your own heartbeat. You step up to the penalty spot, the weight of a nation resting squarely on your tired shoulders. The goalkeeper looks smaller from here, but the goalposts suddenly feel impossibly narrow. You take your run up, striking the ball exactly how you practiced 1,000 times in training. Time freezes as the ball sails past the keeper's outstretched fingertips, only to crash violently against the crossbar. The sound of leather hitting metal echoes in your skull, louder than any explosion. You fall to your knees, pressing your face into the grass as the opposition erupts in pure ecstasy. Teammates try to pull you up, their words of comfort sounding like muffled static underwater. You walk past the shimmering golden trophy, refusing to look at the one thing you came here to claim. In the locker room, the silence is thick enough to choke on, broken only by the sound of muffled weeping. The flight home is a ghost ship, every player staring blankly into the darkness outside the small windows. You land at midnight, hoping to slip away, but the airport is swarming with angry mobs and flashing cameras. Security guards have to physically shove you through a sea of signs calling you a traitor and a disgrace. You lock yourself inside your luxury mansion, pulling all the curtains shut to block out the outside world. Your phone buzzes relentlessly on the marble counter, vibrating with death threats and hateful messages from strangers. Every sports channel is playing The Miss on an endless, agonizing loop, analyzing your biomechanics and your failure. Sponsors start calling your agent, expressing concern about your marketability and current public image. You try to sleep, but the moment your eyes close, you see the ball hitting that crossbar all over again. The first time you venture out for coffee, a stranger spits on your car window at a red light. You realize that your face no longer brings people joy. It brings them painful memories of a shattered dream. Returning to your club training ground feels like walking into a funeral where you are the deceased. Your teammates try to act normal, but the forced smiles and gentle pats on the back only make it worse. The first league match of the season arrives, and you step onto the pitch, hoping to find your sanctuary. Instead of cheers, a chorus of boos rains down from the stands the moment your name is announced. Every touch of the ball feels incredibly heavy, as if your boots are suddenly made of solid lead. You hesitate for a fraction of a second on a simple pass, and the crowd groans in collective frustration. The manager pulls you off at halftime, placing a warm but pitying hand on your trembling shoulder. You sit on the bench wrapped in a heavy coat, watching someone else play your position flawlessly. Weeks turn into months, and your confidence erodes away like a fragile cliff in a violent storm. You start overthinking every movement, losing the natural instinct that once made you one of the best in the world. A major footwear sponsor politely terminates your contract, citing a shift in their marketing strategy. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, but the empty space on your boots feels like a glaring brand of failure. The winter transfer window opens, and rumors swirl that the club is actively looking to offload your massive wages. The manager calls you into his office, looking at his desk instead of meeting your eyes directly. He talks about needing a fresh start, about how a change of scenery would be best for your mental health. You sign the transfer papers to a mid-table team in a different country, desperate to escape the relentless pressure. Your new home is smaller, colder, and far away from the flashing lights of the European elite. You hope anonymity will bring peace, but the local media still introduces you as the man who missed the penalty. The game is slower here, more physical, and your aging body begins to feel the punishing tackles. You suffer a minor hamstring tear, an injury born purely from stress and a lack of proper recovery. Lying on the treatment table, you realize the fire inside you has been slowly replaced by a numb, aching void. You watch the national team play on television, seeing younger, faster players wearing your old jersey number. They win a crucial qualifier, and the commentators don't even mention your name during the broadcast. The realization hits you that the sport has completely moved on, leaving you stranded in the past. You try to find solace in your wealth, buying expensive cars and watches that bring absolutely zero joy. Your relationships suffer as you push away anyone who tries to pull you out of your depressive spiral. The mid-table club decides not to renew your contract after a season plagued by inconsistent performances and injuries. Your agent struggles to find a decent offer, eventually bringing you a deal from a lower division side. You look at the contract, feeling a profound sense of humiliation washing over your tired spirit. You accept it anyway, because being on a football pitch is the only identity you have ever known. The stadiums are now small and decaying, smelling of cheap beer and wet mud instead of freshly cut grass. You play in front of 3,000 people, some of whom still taunt you about that fateful summer night. Your legs feel incredibly heavy, the explosive pace of your youth entirely gone from your muscles. After a particularly brutal match in the freezing rain, you sit alone in the dimly lit dressing room. You untie your muddy boots slowly, staring at the frayed laces and the worn-out leather. A profound realization settles in your chest that you simply cannot do this to yourself anymore. The next morning, you quietly announce your retirement through a brief statement on social media. There is no grand farewell match, no emotional speech in front of a weeping, adoring crowd. You just pack your lockers into a cardboard box and drive away from the training ground for the last time. The first few months of retirement feel like a strange, endless vacation that you never actually asked for. You wake up at 6 in the morning out of habit, waiting for a training schedule that no longer exists. You wander around your large house, the silence echoing off the walls and amplifying your inner thoughts. Former teammates occasionally send a text, but the conversations are brief and hollow. You watch them lifting trophies and celebrating on yachts, feeling like a ghost haunting the edges of their lives. A documentary crew asks to interview you about the penalty, offering a large sum of money for your trauma. You politely decline, refusing to let them dissect your worst nightmare for public entertainment. You start drinking a little too much wine in the evenings to quiet the persistent whispers in your head. The media occasionally runs articles, using unflattering photos of you looking tired and aged. You stop watching football entirely, canceling your sports subscriptions and giving away your old memorabilia. Yet you cannot escape the game. Every kid playing in the park reminds you of the boy you used to be. You try coaching a local youth team, hoping to find some redemption in guiding the next generation. For a brief moment, teaching them how to strike the ball brings a genuine smile to your weathered face. But when one of the kids misses a penalty in a local final, you have a severe panic attack on the touchline. You resign the next day, realizing that your unhealed wounds are too deep to be ignored. You retreat further into isolation, spending your days gardening and reading books you barely understand. The money is still there, securing your future, but securing a future without purpose feels remarkably hollow. Decades pass and your hair turns completely silver, your face lined with the heavy maps of regret. You walk through a grocery store, and for the first time in years, someone recognizes you. It's an old man, and instead of anger, his eyes are filled with a quiet, lingering sadness. He simply nods at you, a silent acknowledgement of the heavy burden you have carried for an entire lifetime. You return home and walk into the dusty attic, opening a wooden box you haven't touched in 30 years. Inside is the silver runner-up medal you received on that cursed night, tarnished and heavy. You hold it in your trembling hands, feeling the cold metal against your fragile, aging skin. You finally allow yourself to cry, not for the missed penalty, but for the life it stole from you. You realize that you let a single fraction of a second define the entire narrative of your existence. The world had forgiven you long before you ever considered forgiving yourself. You place the medal back in the box, closing the lid with a sense of finality that you desperately needed. The next morning you wake up and the air feels lighter, the silence of the house no longer suffocating. You walk outside into the garden, watching the sunrise paint the sky in brilliant strokes of gold and crimson. You understand now that the tragedy wasn't missing the goal. The tragedy was stopping your life at the penalty spot. You pick up a weathered football left in the yard, feeling the familiar texture of the synthetic leather. You drop it to your feet, juggling it clumsily, your stiff joints protesting the sudden awkward movement. But you laugh, a genuine hearty sound that breaks the stillness of the quiet morning air. You kick the ball against the garden wall, watching it bounce back into the tall, damp grass. For the first time in your life, it doesn't matter where the ball lands or who is watching. You are finally just a man playing a game, completely free from the ghosts of a stadium that no longer exists.